Welcome back everyone to another mod showcase, and today we're going to be doing a review for the anti-gravity mod, or it's known as the StarMiner mod for 1.7.10. It's quite strange that most people call it StarMiner while others call it the anti-gravity mod, but I think for the sake of the iconic and the for the remembrance of this mod, I'm just going to call it StarMiner because I preferably call that because that's what I remember when most YouTubers covered it. It's called StarMiner. So yeah, StarMiner. But anyways, I'm going to read the overview and it says, the anti-gravity mod for 1.7.10 or StarMiner 1.7.10 adds various ways of toggling gravity on and off, creating your own stars, exploring the land collision starting with the effect of extreme gravity and being hit from a squid ball. This mod lets you jump off the wall, run off the wall, and do kinds of crazy fun things. The mod includes many tools, recipes, and methods to take a completely different perspective on Minecraft. And unfortunately, it says new versions of this mod will not come. I have came across some other versions, but they're not the same as this one, so this is very unfortunate, and they only upload this as a preservation of the project just to make us remember the iconicness of mods back in the day. But anyways, we are going to be doing the showcase because I just want to, because it's intriguing in its own way. It may look fun, but it's kind of complicated once you actually get into the details of how these things work, because you got to be a little bit of a nerd to figure this out. But sometimes I get confused with this, and I also tried doing a showcase about this before and I was actually locked in, but the problem was the idea was scrapped, so I'm pretty much rusty with this mod, so I may not know all of it until it's too late. So we're just gonna go with this together. But anyways, so we have this stuff in the chest. So we have the gravity controller, the star controller, the man bazooka, the grappling gun, the arrow with rope, and the solar wind fan. So the gravity controller, this is the important piece of the whole mod. This is like the way to discharge and connect with the planets if you want to, be part of the planet, or in other words, get sucked in by its own gravity. So in order to make the controller, you're just going to need outer star core, inner star core, and sticks. If you want to know how to make these, just install just enough items, just to save you enough time. But I can just show you the ingredients pretty quickly. That's what it looks like. And for the inner star core, this is the ingredient. Pretty expensive stuff. So that's the star controller. We also have not the star controller. This is the gravity controller. This is the star controller. They kind of got these mixed up. It's like a tongue roll. So the star controller, it's the inner star core, iron ingot, and the gravity controller. And the man bazooka, this stuff is very useful for transportation when going to space. And we got the grappling, which is very useful for transportation in space. And the solar wind fan, very useful for transportating in space. So you're going to see mostly a lot of transportation, since once you go into space, you're kind of just going to be stuck if you don't have any momentum, because gravity kind of exists. It's not just, you just float in one direction. Like if you don't have momentum, you actually stay stuck. And once you're stuck, you're kind of cooked. You're just in space, just barely moving because time just froze for you. But anyways, we are going to find a sphere, but there's so many spheres in this world that we can go to. But I'm just going to choose based on what I think. We got a sponge one. Let's see. We got like a snow one, dirt one. I'm really trying to figure this out. I can't go. It's like there's so many choices that I can go, but just for the sake of the showcase, we're probably just going to go to this cobblestone one. I know, or the netherrack one. Man, there's so many colors to choose from. Damn. We're going to go with the cobblestone one. Yeah, it's a lot closer to that tree right there, so we can just get up there and we can just connect to it easily. But I can show you guys the man bazooka though, so let me just do it like this. Well, you can actually orient it any type of way. And you're going to have to get a pickaxe just to break this, most definitely. But the man bazooka, you're just going to need gunpowder or inner star core, either or. So if I place it like this, you can just get launched into the air, just like so. Gives you enough momentum, but based on we're on Earth, we're kind of just get pulled right back down. But you can see how high we can go, right? That's very useful to transport ourselves from one planet to the next. It's kind of like a launch pad. Very useful. And we also got grappling gun, which is useful too, just like the man bazooka. But it requires gravity arrows, which requires G arrow, which is stardust. Stardust comes from the outer star core. So everything kind of has a price. And plus, I should have given myself a pickaxe just to see what's in the inside, because you'll probably want to know the cores and everything. But if you want to get onto this planet, you can see that we're not stuck there, right? We're right on Earth. We got to use the gravity control to get pulled up there. And we should be able to lock up on there. Strange. It's not pulling. Okay, let me try using the man bazooka or the grappling gun just to pull ourselves up there. There we go. Now we're on the planet, and if you want to discharge, just shift just to let go of the grappling. And it does use up your arrows, so do bear in mind, craft enough of these gravity arrows or else you'd be stranded in space. So, yeah, so this is us on the cobblestone planet, and I should give myself a pickaxe because it's going to be very important. I'm just going to give myself a diamond pickaxe because just for the efficiency. There we go. And then all we just got to do is just go right into the core. And you'll probably notice that the core is full with that inner and outer core. And also another important piece just for gravity. So you can break the outer core very easily since it's very easy to break. But you also have this tough inner core, which is made from iron, obsidian, and all this other material. And it does explain why it's so hard to get in there, because it's just made it from very tough material. Quite interesting they still stayed with the formula of how hard it is to mine it. But once you mine through, I guess, like 2 layers or 3 layers of this stuff, you can get to the core. Once we get to this core, you'll see that we can modify the radius of the gravity. We can modify the star radius. We can also modify the gravity radius. The gravity radius means you can increase the strength of how far the gravity is, but I think in this case it only affects players. You also have terraforming materials, which allows you to add blocks that you can terraform. I mean, this is very complicated. Like I said, it looks simple on the outside, but it's very complicated when it gets to the inside. So I could probably try wood, maybe try just some wood, some terraforming with wood, and then we just use the star controller. I never tried the star controller. I think you've got to like click on it. Yeah, you probably got to click on it. Yeah, you got to click on it to set the chord, and then it probably starts working. And once you change the settings, it's really funky. Very funky controls. But I think you could set it where you can make it constantly build a lot of the wood to make a full wood sphere. I tried that before. It was pretty cool. But like again, I'm very rusty when it comes down to showcasing this. So I'm trying my best to like showcase the coolness of how this mod works. But for the man bazooka, if we do use it, we could just aim it like this. So say the planet is right there. Yeah, the gravity's really funky today. We just click this, get the squid. It puts us to this gravity, and boom, we're onto this planet. And if we try to look back onto that other planet, gotta look up. You can probably see the cannon, or yeah, you can see the cannon. It says TNT. Yep, we kind of just made from point A to point B very easily. If we want to get off the planet, we're gonna have to try to fall in that water over there, which means we got to discharge ourselves, because right now we're on the planet. But if we want to land, we're just going to spleef. Ow. Okay, there we go. I kind of failed that badly. Very badly. But anyways, we're going to have to continue. But I'm going to set the time to day because it's best to see it when it's daytime. But we're going to go into creative mode just to show you what happens if you actually do tend to build all the way up to go to space. So now that we're in creative mode, all you got to do is literally just build very high. So what you're going to have to do is place a lot of blocks. So right now at the Y level, we got to be at least like 256 blocks or probably even higher, but you're going to have your gravity controller at hand. So we got to be high enough just for us to be basically visible from this. So right now we're like around this level. Yeah, so you got to be like around 290, I think. I mean, the number is kind of finicky, but you'll know once you start reaching up there, and then it just changes you through that transition. That's when you know you reach the barrier of actually going through. And there's also, I want to try the solar wind fans and stuff, because this stuff is very useful if you ever get stranded in space. Like, say for example, like we were in creative, right? See, we can't move at all. Like I'm pressing all my buttons, my ASWD buttons. We cannot move whatsoever. There's no air pushing us around. That's what I'm talking about. You're going to have to use something just to push yourself. Like this wind fan, I'm not sure like what it does. It's supposed to be used to like move you, but I could be using it wrong. But if you want to make it, it's this type of material. But yeah, you're going to have to try to figure it out, in which for me, I just got to use the grappling hook, because that's going to be very helpful in getting around. But again, you're going to have to just learn to adapt, or else you're cooked. Like, you don't want to get into this situation. Yeah, because you do not want to drift off to deep space. Because if you do, you're just basically going to suffer. And I don't want you guys to suffer in space, because I know that feeling. It's the worst feeling. So we're trying to get over here to this netherrack planet. And now we're on the netherrack planet. Yep. Now we're basically on the side of the planet. Don't mind the sun. It kind of looks weird with these shaders. But you can see that this is planet Earth. You can see some of these particles in the sky. You can also see the ring around this planet. Quite interesting. You can also see a lot of star dirt everywhere. And speaking of star dirt, you can actually plant crops in space. But you're probably wondering, since we're in space, water freezes. Don't worry. Based on this mod, when you try to plant your crops, you could just use a hoe, and you can just hoe the ground and just place your seeds down, and you're okay. You don't have to worry about heat or anything. I tried placing obsidian and water, and immediately freeze. Not freeze. If you place lava, it turns to obsidian. If you place water, it turns to ice. So it kind of prevents liquids from even, being liquids. It solidifies. But if you do try to get into these cores, you might get interesting things. Like when you enter this netherrack core or a planet, you see there's a lot of sponges, which is very useful for clearing up oceans. But you see blocks of iron, redstone, iron ore, coal, basically all the essentials just to have materials. But the reason why I have all these cannons here, because you might make some cannons, since I highly prefer those. So if I try to go back into survival mode, I'm just doing it in a real case scenario. Say you are in space and you're trying to get around, you're going to have to use these man bazookas. They're going to be very helpful in the long run. See, you can just go from one planet to the next and just be pulled in, and then boom. You could see that we just came from that location. And then I can place down my man bazooka right around this planet. But I just hope that the gravity is good enough to pull me. And yeah, I placed this one by accident. Let me place it like this. There we go. And then we just get sent right back there. Come on. You might have to use your grappling hook just in case, because sometimes the gravity isn't good. Yep, and you see that? We're kind of stuck in space now. Yeah, we kind of got ourselves in the deadlock. Like we went right past the netherrack planet, but now we're kind of stuck. Yeah, that's the reality of it. So if you ever try to go past something, you're gonna have to learn to adapt. But I'll just say, keep inventory first in some way, and then learn from the rest. But now we go back into creative. Yeah, you could see that we tried to use the man bazooka, but we went right past this planet, which is crazy. So, yeah, this is very like tricky stuff. Now we go back to survival and we try to use the gravity control to discharge from the planet. Okay. Nope. No. See? Yep. So when you discharge from the planet, it sends you right to the void. You don't want to do that. That's the worst feeling. The very worst feeling. It's more like paranoia, like true paranoia, because you don't want to fade it out of existence. It's like the very worst feeling. But we will try going to that planet with the man bazooka, and we will just launch ourselves across. But this time we're dead center on the planet, so we don't have to worry about using the grappling hook. But once we get there, we're on the new planet. It's very cool. And then once you go inside, you might just, encounter a different material. We kind of go from creative mode to survival, but just to show that it's a possibility. You can see that there are some emeralds. I'm just trying to see if there's any diamonds around. I mean, you might come across one that may have a lot of diamonds, but it's still pretty good. But if you try to live on this planet, you can, but it's going to come with some challenges, which you're going to have to plant a bed. And if you're trying to add a door, you're going to have to make a fake rotator. You're going to have to do that like this. So say we got a door in our inventory. Yep, this is how you do it. If you try to place a regular door, it wouldn't work. So you got to use fake rotators. Very useful. And I think you can place down regular blocks too, like dispensers or maybe tracks. Wait, you could probably let me try fake rotator with a, I want to do it with a track. So okay, that removes the door. Oh yeah, so it actually locks in whatever item you got. So if you have this and just place down a mine cart, you can basically make a whole adventure based on this. I think you can click this. It's very strange, but it's something to work on. Like, kind of sad that I can't like place the minecart in there. I mean, if I could, that'd be very cool. But you can also place torches. Yeah, let me try torches. I think you could do the same with torches or with lighting. So if you have like a torch, let me just place it down. Boom, yeah, you can actually place down torches. Yeah, place torches on the side without actually trying to actually place a real torch. Like, you can see that this one is straight up and this one is on the side. It's kind of cool. And a bed. Yep, the bed is just a gravity bed, which in order to make this, all you just need is a bed and gravity walls. I think this is when they talk about the whole walking on the wall situation, which requires stardust. Stardust comes from the outer star core. Yeah, it seems like I said a lot in this video, but it's very informative once you get to know it. But I also want to show you guys the ending part too. You also got the solar wind fan, which is very important, but I might try to get myself fire resistance because you might, I guess, fall to your pummeling doom if you ever accidentally turn off the gravity or say discharge from one of these planets. So let me just drink some water. Don't mind the very dark side because this is very natural. And look at that. That actually looks pretty nice with the ring. Like, it looks very nice. But if you try to get there, you're going to have to, say, discharge. You got a solar wind fan, which prevents you, I guess, slows you down. So yeah, it's very good to slow you down so you don't speed up when you enter the atmosphere. But we have fire resistance, so we're fine. So this helps us, slows us down. Very good. But I think we could still burn and die. So we're slowly moving down. Very slowly. But who knows? We're kind of just stuck in limbo with being in space and being near the stratosphere. Yep, it burns us because we're entering the atmosphere. And then once that happens, we just fall into our pummeling doom unless you have an elytra. In which in this version, there's no such thing as an elytra. It's either luck or just have a bottle of, not a bottle, a lake or ocean of water nearby that can, reduce your fall. So now we have entered the atmosphere. You can see that we just die. that's how real I can put it. That is pretty much for the StarMiner mod, or the anti-gravity mod for 1.7.10. But it's very unfortunate that they haven't done any updates recently with the mod. It's kind of just stuck in the past. But sometimes some things are better off at the past than being brung to the future, because it still has that novelty and that curiosity of how things work. Like, I actually love the functionality of how gravity works in this version. Like, the newer version, it's alright, but they can't recapture that same feeling that the anti-gravity mod or StarMiner has in store. But you guys can also download this if you guys want to give it a try for yourself, just to toy around, plant some crops, and just say you went to space, because it's cool to go to space. It's better than Earth. You know what? I'm lying. Earth is a lot better, since I can just stay on the ground and tolerate the acceleration and gravitational pull of 9.8 milliseconds. But yeah, this is going to conclude for the showcase, and I hope you guys find this helpful. And if you do, be sure to just enjoy more of my showcases. Until then, I'll do some more research on another mod. Don't know what it is, since there's always a lot out there. But until then, see you guys with another mod showcase. But these are the recipes, which is very useful just to fling yourself up and down. And what just happened? Something just exploded. I was just minding my own business and it just went kaboom. Like, what just happened? Oh my goodness. That kind of spooked me for a second. What difficulty's on? Easy. So I've been startled by a creeper. Wow, was not expecting that.